الله أكبر حي على الصلاة الله أكبر.
I rise, giving all praises to Allah, the great God of the universe, the highest honors to his prophet, Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to Marcus Mosiah Garvey, John the Harbinger, purity made manifest, the one who came to stir the nations. Islam. I give honors to our Moorish flag, red flag with a 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points representing the highest principles known to man, which are love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I give honors to American flag, also known as the Merchant Trading Bank, a flag of your place of birth. Islam. I give honors to all prophets, universal prophets who bring their portion of understanding to the world. I give honors to our current leadership. I give honors to the Grand Governor's office, Lieutenant Grand Governor's office, the sheikhs, the sheikh staff, the admin staff, and the mighty vanguard who keep the peace. Most of all, I give honors to you, the ills and the bays. Because without you Moors, we have no movement. Islam? Islam. I'll be reading, kind of bouncing back and forth between 2 chapters today. This particular measure is, I called it something simple. Is masterminds. Because we always say masterminds. We're masterminds. What are we actually learning, and what does that word actually entail in our Moorish doctrine? So I would like to start reading a couple verses from chapter 1, the creation and the fall of man, and I'll be reading for our Moorish Holy Quran. Let me hear Islam once you have it. Islam. The creation and fall of man. Time never was when man was not. If life of a man at any time began, a time would come when it would end. The thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed. No finite mind can comprehend things infinite. I want to point to stop right there. It says no finite mind can comprehend things infinite. The thoughts of Allah cannot be circumscribed. So we know already that Allah is infinite. We already know that what is man? Man is not the body nor the soul, but a spirit and a part of Allah. And the reason I point this out, because if no finite mind can comprehend things infinite, then it's saying that we cannot even use our minds when we're trying to figure out who we are and what our higher self is. Think about it for a minute. Because our higher self is infinite. The mind is not. So in a way, we can't intellectualize who we are eternally. So we have to go through a process. And this is where that word mastermind starts to unfold in me. Masterminds are minds. Once we master our minds, we master our thoughts. Mastering our thoughts, we master our habits. And our habits show forth our character. So this is why we must understand first how our forefathers viewed the mind. And with that, I want to turn real quick to chapter 38. And the reason I'm turning to this chapter, because through our Sunday schools, we figured out exactly where the mind was located. And I just like to unfold a little bit more on that. See, our forefathers knew what the mind was. They knew what the mind consists of, I should say. Now, and the more that we start to become what our forefathers were in spirit and in thought, the more we can break down this pamphlet, this Moorish Holy Quran. But we have to return to the ways of our forefathers and thinking of our forefathers, Islam, in order to see what it is that they put forth. Because our forefathers were masterminds, and they knew all that we are just now figuring out, whether the Europeans called it the psyche or not. Because in European, let me say, when you look at the word psychologist, right? We know that's a study of the mind. The root word is psyche, which is Greek. And that's what the Greeks call the soul. But the soul, we know in our lessons that the soul is not the mind, or the mind is not the soul. And in this chapter, the soul of man, it opens it up more and more to kind of unfold, to give us a better understanding of ourselves. This is the Holy Instructions, chapter 38, Islam sheet. This is the Holy Instructions, chapter 38, the soul of man. I began at instruction 1. The blessing, O man, of thy external part is health, vigor, and proportion. The greatest of these is health. What health is to the body, that is honesty to the soul. That thou hast a soul is of all knowledge, the most certain of all truths, the most plain unto thee. Be meek, be grateful for it. Seek not to know it perfectly, it is inscrutable. So we're saying there, the soul already, it be meek, but it's inscrutable. Means it's hard to understand. So we just know what we know. Verse key 3. Thinking, understanding, reasoning, willing. Call these not the soul. They are its actions, but not its essence.
That's right.
Islam.
So
going back, and once again, when the Greeks called the soul, they thought the soul was the mind, but the soul was not the mind. The mind is only the actions of the soul. So when we're thinking, reasoning, understanding, willing, these are all actions. But it's not its essence. It says, raise it not too high, that thou be not despised. So we talking about the mind now. I'm saying raise it not too high, for thou be despised. Saying, don't think you know it all. Don't think that you got it all, or that you put yourself on this particular pedestal. Because that's when people look at you like, who does this person think they is? That's why it says be meek, be humble. You know, raise it not too high. It's teaching us how to use this tool in this particular manifest. It says debase it, well then it says be not like unto those who fall by climbing. Saying constantly, I'm constantly coming up, I'm falling, I'm constantly, being inconstant. Say don't be that person that's constantly falling. I'm gonna get it right this time. You keep falling, you keep falling. It's saying neither debase it to the sense of brutes, nor be that like the horse and the mule, in whom there is no understanding. So it's saying don't be stubborn either. It's telling you exactly how to work this instrument, this apparatus, I should call it, the mind. Search it by its faculties, know it by its virtues. They are more in number than the hairs of thy head. The stars of heaven are not to be counted with them. But I want to digress real quick back to key 4. Well, key 3. When I was saying that the mind, these are the actions of the mind. And in chapter 1, we were speaking about that the finite mind cannot comprehend things infinite. And if we wanted to understand ourselves, we have to understand first what the finite mind was. Because a finite mind can't tell you who you are. Case in point, in our one-on-ones for Moorish American children, it says, what is the holy breath? All we can say is that it is good, it is great, it was, is, and evermore shall be. Amen.
That's right.
All we can say. So we're not definitely, because we're using our finite mind. See, we know it's something greater, but we can't define it. We can only say what we believe it is by way of our forefathers. And that's right there is telling you that already we have to step outside the mind. But how do you step outside the mind? To figure out who you are. If thinking, understanding, reasoning, willing, call these not the soul, there are his actions, then that tells you right there we have to cease these actions. Case in point, when we meditate, when you meditate, we all meditate, we try to focus on the breath, focus on the breath, but then you get all these different thoughts, the clatter that comes into your brain, and you're trying to get past that. That's what it's saying. We have to learn how to cease that. This is part of mastering the mind. Because what is truly the mind? And our keys, it said the mind is really the shadows of the Lord itself, and it will soon pass away. But the only way that we do that is through meditation. It's through going through life, through the buffering of life and perfecting ourselves. Going through certain cycles and things of the nature. These are the things that helps us master ourselves. Instruction 6. Think not with Arabia that one soul is parted among all men. Neither believe thou with the sons of Egypt that every man hath many. Know that as thy heart, so also thy soul is one. So it's already saying that everyone has a particular aspect of the soul, their own particular character. And that character is demonstrated by our mental capacities, our cognitive towers, our mental powers, how we develop the spirit, how we develop the soul, because we know now that the mind is just a conduit from which the soul manifests in this reality, in this creation. So we all have our own different personalities attached to that. That's why we are all our own individuals from a finite point of view. Because from an infinite point of view, everything is one. But from finite, we all have our own individual characteristics. Islam. To go further on instruction 7. Doeth not the sun harden the clay? Doeth it not also soften the wax? As it is one sun that worketh both, even so it is one soul that willeth contrary. So it's saying that one soul within you, your soul can go this way, or it can go that way. Either or, but it still does the same thing. But it's also how we direct this energy. That's why in our lessons it says, actuate thy flesh. Actuate thy flesh and keep the spirit attentive to its good.
That's right.
So it's telling us already that higher self, our lessons is teaching us how to direct that soul. Islam. As the moon retaineth her nature through darkness, as the moon retaineth her nature, though darkness spread itself before her face as a curtain, so the soul remaineth perfect, even in the bosom of a fool. Wow. She is immortal. She is unchangeable. She is like in all. So she is like this in all. It's universal. So when you figure yourself out, you'll start to understand other people. That's why it says learn yourself and learn Allah. You'll learn everything else because it's universal. Health calleth her forth to show her loveliness. An application anointeth her with oil. An application anointeth her with the oil of wisdom. So what that's saying is that when they say you're an old soul, you're a wise soul. Means you endured a lot, you've been through a lot, you experienced a lot, you became more mentally developed throughout time. Islam. Although she shall live after thee, think not she was born before thee. She was created with thy flesh and formed with thy brain. So she is a part of you. Your whole genetic makeup. Not just in the brain, but the flesh as well. Because remember, in chapter 1, it tells us that why did creative faith get a spirit man a soul? That he might function on the plane of souls. Why did he creative faith give the soul a body of flesh? So he might function on the plane may manifest. So what I'm saying is that the soul is the flesh of the spirit. It's a flesh within itself. And the more we begin to understand, we start to see these different bodies and how they work. These entities and how they work in unison. By way of Allah. On itself. Let me lose my spot. Justice could not give her to thee exalted by virtues, nor mercy deliver her thee deformed by vices. These must be thine. And thou must answer for them. So by justice alone, we have to strive to understand what virtues is. We have to strive to grasp these virtues. It wasn't given to us. This is why we go through things in life that stimulate these things that's already within ourselves.
Right.
And we don't know, but Jesus already said, by the bufferings of life. You know, he walked the thorny path to become the Messiah, to become who he was, to bring out the qualities of character that was in him. And that's why justice won't just give you, you're not just born with virtues. These are things you must learn through life. Instruction 12. Suppose not death can shield thee from examination. Think not corruption can hide thee from injury. He who formed thee of thou knoweth not what, can he raise thee from thou knoweth not what again?
Yes, sir.
And that speaks for itself. Nothing you do is nothing we do in life is shielding us from Allah. Allah sees everything. Case in point too. What did the higher self say to the lower self one day when they was passing? I think about this when I think about this particular
Where you
verse.
going, Satan?
Where you going, Satan? And Satan said, to and fro, the earth think I may devour. But who was that? Who was that thing? What was that thing that was able to see that the lower self was moving to and fro? And who was that thing that able to see that the higher self was talking to the lower self? What was that thing? That thing that constantly records all our deeds that we do, that sees everything. Our soul. That's why they say your soul can witness against you. Verse 13. Perceivest not the cock of the hour of midnight, the clock of the hour of midnight, the cock of the hour of midnight. Exalteth he not his voice till tell thee it is morning? Knoweth not the dog the footsteps of his master? Flieth not the wounded goat unto the herbs that healeth him? Yet when these die, their spirits return to death. Thy alone surviveth. So it's saying even when these animals pass on, their spirit returns, you know, their spirit returns to dust. But thy alone, you'll live after. That's why the ask is this: the animals have souls, as humans have. We know that now. Because what is it? So what is that was added unto thee? To inform thee of thy clay. To make you understand that you are here in this reality and that you are here to do something, that you're conscious of life. You know, you're conscious of death. You know, animals they don't have these things. They just live the life of an animal. You know, they don't know like I'm about to die. The cow don't know that I'm going to be food. You know, this is something that was added on to man that made us different. This is the thing that we need to what's the word? This is the thing that we need to exert to really understand who we are. This is the thing that we have to realize, because this is the connection that other groups didn't want us to know anymore. This is what makes us stand out. This is really our connection back to Allah. But remember, the finite mind cannot comprehend things infinite. So we must cease the actions of the mind, which is thinking, reasoning, will, and understanding. These are all actions. But Allah is will. Means Allah doesn't have to make the choice. The choice is made. We constantly making choices, but at that time, I'm going to say this in closing, we have to learn to make that choice to line our will back with Allah. This is how we're able to elevate outside of this mind and start to master this mind, the shadows of the lower self. And therefore it will cease to exist.
Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah.